Hello and welcome to Letters Home, a story of a World War II B-17 pilot from Lowell, Michigan, in his own words. And he just so happens to be my grandpa. I'm your host, Annie Whitlock, and I'm joined by my co-host, my dad, Mitch McMahon, my aunt, Lori McMahon Summerfield, and Dale Croft from the Lowell Historical Museum.
In each episode of Letters Home, we're going to dive into letters written by my dad during his time in World War II that he sent to his parents, siblings, and friends back home in Lowell, Michigan. We'll be reading his own words and giving some context to what was happening in the world and in Lowell at the time he wrote these.
In this episode, we read some ledger news about Dad's return from the UK. We read some letters from Dad's brother Roger, and Bruce and Margaret, my parents, get married.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Yeah, that's right. In our last episode, Bruce was making his way back to the U.S. after being off combat in Thurley. I found this out. Princess Elizabeth, a.k.a. the future Queen Elizabeth, visited Thurley Airfield just a few days after Bruce left.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. They christened a B-17 after her. Bruce could have met the Queen.
So he missed that
He
just by
missed
2
it
days?
by like a few days, like
there's
maybe
so
a
many
week,
great pictures.
less than a week, I think. If I'm getting my dates right, if he actually left, Thurley at that time. So, gosh, he just missed it. He could have had a really cool story for this podcast.
would have been.
But she was there. She visited Thurley. It's all over the Thurley Museum and stuff because, it's a big deal. But yeah, she wasn't queen yet, but could have made it.
There you go.
But in this episode, it is August 1944, and Bruce has finally returned to the U.S. He's keeping his promise about getting married when he returns. But before we get to that, we're going to start today by reading the article in the Lowell Ledger that appeared on August 10th, 1944, reporting on Bruce's homecoming.
Captain Bruce McMahon reached home last Saturday after 38 missions over occupied Europe and Germany in a flying fortress, and his relatives and friends were both happy and proud to welcome him. Bruce is not much inclined to talk about his exploits, but his decorations speak for themselves. He has received his Air Medal and a Distinguished Flying Cross with 4 oak leaf clusters. During his 38 missions, he has had many close calls. Flak holes and shot-up uniforms become commonplace. Many members of his crew have been injured or killed. He has had 4 different fortresses shot up to such an extent that they were consigned to the scrap pile. He came home by boat from Scotland and says it's much rougher on the water than flying over it, as he did on his way over. He will report to Miami, Florida, after several weeks with the home folks. Bruce says he's glad to be home, but cannot feel joyful when he thinks of his buddies who will never return.
Yeah, this Ledger article gives a little hint about where Bruce is going next, Miami, Florida. And interesting enough, his brother Roger is stationed in Fort Myers, Florida at the same time. Thanks to Gail, Roger's daughter and friend of the pod, we have a couple of letters we're going to read today from Roger, actually, to Frank and Lotta. And this first one is about Bruce's other plans for his time in Lowell from August 13th, 1944, in Roger's own words.
Sunday, 3:20 p.m., August 13th, 1944. Dear Dad and Mother, so you're going to lose another son. No, I should say it's great that you're going to gain a new, very sweet daughter. I know you are both very happy to have your youngest happily married, and those oversized hearts of yours will take in whatever size family it eventually turns out to be without a stretch. I've explained to Bruce and Veda about my not being there, and don't you two feel badly. Just look over at Veda, Raj, Gail, and young FJ, and I think how happy you are for me to have such a fine family, and how happy you'll be when their old but changed and more appreciative husband and dad gets home to them. Things are going fine here, with the second week now well underway. I think we may be starting school most any time. It'll still be a long time after starting school before we get to do any flying, so don't start your worrying yet. I haven't had the pressure chamber test yet and may end up as an investigator yet. But if you could see these forts and libs slide in and off the field and know the Gulf is within sight from the air, you'd itch too. You weren't on my letter list for today, but in answering Rhodes' letter, a 35-year-old manager of a Kansas City lumber company and son of the ex-treasurer of the state of Kansas, I got to know at SF, I reread his letter and thought I'd mail it to you. First, to show you others I think I'm getting along okay, and secondly, to show how my comrades and tent mates have listened to me about my brother Bruce whenever I go. Veda read one of his letters, so you can give her this one to keep for me, too. We had a beautiful storm last night, about 6:30, and the sky is full of big white clouds today. I wrote Bruce and then forgot to mention a wedding present. He'll explain that we'll have to take a rain check until his war when they start up permanent housekeeping. I bet young Roger's more excited over the wedding than anyone, so you see to it that he has a good seat. Well, parents of mine, I have to write several long overdue letters and be at 7 p.m. Mass, so take it easy and don't let the excitement get you down. My waiting 6 or 7 weeks will mean a full 15-day furlough when I get there. I'll write again this week, as I should be getting mail from home about Monday or Tuesday night. God bless and keep you both. Your devoted and happy son, Raj.
Roger's bummed. He can't make it to the wedding. But you have to remember, he's just starting his Army training in the war. We've talked in the last couple episodes that he was getting drafted right as Bruce is leaving the UK, so he probably can't get away. It was his first couple weeks in. Roger's handwriting is also very neat, just like Bruce's, but it's very different from Bruce's. So you'll have to check it out and see. There's a reminder, the actual letters on our YouTube, our Instagram. We'll post some of Roger's handwriting, and the Lowell Historical Museum website, of course. So now it's time to get into our segment where we talk about what was going on in the world and in Lowell in late June and July 1944. And of course, the biggest news in Lowell at this time is the wedding of Bruce and Margaret. I mean, maybe it wasn't like the biggest news, but it got like a full article in the Ledger. It was under like the social section, but it was long.
Yeah.
And it had like a headline. It said, "Popular couple wed in church ceremony."
Wow.
So, I mean, it's interesting hearing them described as a popular couple, because I didn't think they would have been together in Lowell all that much.
I'll have to take a picture because I have it.
Yeah.
I have that. So I'll send it to
you. So we're going to read that article first to kind of set the scene of the wedding here. So there you go.
A lovely wedding was solemnized at 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, August 23rd, at St. Mary's Church, when Margaret Marie Allen was united in marriage with Captain James Bruce McMahon, son of Mr. and Mrs. F.J. McMahon of Lowell. The bride is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Marshall R. Allen of St. Hilaire, Ontario. 4 large baskets of white gladioli decorated the altar, before which Reverend E.J. Jewell read the marriage services. The bride was attired in a gray street-length dress with white accessories and carried a white prayer book with white orchids and boulevardia. Her sister Ruth Allen was a bridesmaid. She wore a corsage of camellia with white roses. The groom's mother also wore camellia and white roses. Byrne McMahon of Lowell attended his brother as best man. Paul Rickert acted as usher. Special music was furnished by Jerry Roach of Grand Rapids, who sang On This Day, O Beautiful Mother, and In Sacrament, Sweet Jesus, accompanied at the organ by Carl McOker of Grand Rapids. Immediately following the ceremony, a wedding breakfast was served to the members of the immediate families at the country house. In the evening, an open house was held for many friends of the couple at the McMahon residence in Reservoir Hill. For traveling, Mrs. McMahon chose an aqua wool suit with black accessories and wore a corsage of white orchids. After a short honeymoon, Captain and Mrs. McMahon will go to Miami Beach, Florida on September the 1st, where they will remain for 2 weeks while Captain McMahon awaits reassignment. Out-of-town guests attending the wedding were Miss Ruth Allen of Ann Arbor, Miss Betty Allen, Mr. and Mrs. Edward Farrell, and Mrs. Hope Lincoln and daughter Sally of Chicago.
It's just so funny. Like, they got reports on the outfits, the fashion, the flowers, like who was there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's social reporting.
Aqua wool suit.
I love she wore like a gray dress, like very chic. The Ledger also reported on August 17th that Margaret Allen was a guest of Veda's. So maybe she was staying there before the wedding.
Perhaps.
It's been a few days, so that's interesting. So we have to break down who the people are mentioned in this letter, if we can figure them out. There are 2 obvious ones, but our listeners may not know them. Dad, Aunt Lori, either one of you have to explain who Ruth and Betty Allen are.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Well, those are the 2. There were the 3 Allen sisters, Mom, Ruth, and we called her Betty Jane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Elizabeth, yeah.
And
Yeah.
What else?
And then, well, we grew up knowing Sally, because Sally came to Michigan quite a bit. Sally Sue, we called her Sally Sue, and her dad. I remember meeting Bob, and I don't remember meeting
But
Hope.
Bob didn't come to the wedding, huh?
No,
Probably
it
not.
doesn't
Looks
look
like
it.
Hope Lincoln and her daughter Sally just came of
He
Chicago.
probably had to
I
work.
remember Sally.
Yeah.
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 She would come to visit when I was a kid. I remember just being like, I think that we're related to her.
She was
but I
a
don't
lot
know
of
how.
fun. She's very
But maybe we
boisterous
weren't related. Were we related?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on mom's side.
Okay.
On the maternal side, so the Allen side, and then
Cousins.
and then Mr. and Mrs. Ed Farrell. Their daughters, Kathleen. We saw them quite a bit. They were at Joliet. Why can't it, Kathleen? We just talked about it.
Kathleen and
Look, shoot. We'll get it. I'll get it here. Yeah, they came and we talked to them quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
and saw them quite a bit.
Okay. So these were all, so they're not Lowell people, just so the listeners
they
know.
visit every summer.
Yeah, they would visit every summer.
Okay. But yes, I remember, Sally Sue would come over and visit every so often as well. They were Margaret's family, maybe cousins or whatever from their side. And as I think we've established in other episodes, Margaret grew up in a bunch of different places, right? They lived in Illinois, as you mentioned. They lived in Canada, in Lowell.
She went to 10 different schools growing up.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So that's why
that.
she got moved.
really?
She got advanced. She skipped some grades because every time they moved, they would test her, and then she would. So she got to skip some grades.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. Well, see, I'm learning new things too.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why she was such a young school teacher then.
I think it was. I remember asking her that.
That makes a lot of sense. But, Ruth Allen and Betty Allen, Betty Jane, they lived in Lowell after a time at some point. So, not like the whole time, but
No,
that Grandma and Grandpa lived there, but they lived there.
Yeah,
We visited them in Miami.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Grandma was from Miami. It's interesting because Betty Yeiter gave a eulogy at Aunt Ruth's funeral, and Betty Yeiter talked about how everybody talked when the Allen sisters came to town, because there were these three women who came to town, and they were all a little bit like jealous, a little. She was very, very sweet about them. So yeah, it's funny.
I always kind of felt like Betty Jane was she would always check on me too. Like she was in women's club, and so she sponsored me to be in women's club. You know how you have to sponsor somebody to do it? So she sponsored me in women's club. And then she was just like the most fun one to have lunch with at those women's club luncheons.
Absolutely.
By far. Like her and Betty Yeiter were the most fun to sit next to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she was always, she was great to know well into my adulthood.
Sharp
for sure.
Very sharp. Yep.
Yeah. And then Paul Rickert, I think we've heard this name before.
Yeah.
At least somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So he must have been, he's an usher.
Yeah.
He's not related to us. He was a friend.
No,
must have been a friend.
A friend.
Okay.
Yeah, and related to the Rickerts of Lowell now too. So, and he worked at the power company. Yeah. So
Yes,
I think we
that's
found he
where
worked
we
at the power
talked about
company.
him
Yeah.
before. So yeah, we got some Lowell people and some out of town guests, of course, that came in for the wedding for sure. Well, yeah, so that's the big Lowell news. I don't know, didn't make front page of the Ledger, but it was there. But in big world news at this time, huge world news, the Allies liberated the city of Paris in August of 1944, removing the Nazis from control of the city. Dale, this is a momentous event of the war, the liberation of Paris. What can you tell us about this event?
Well, the liberation took a little bit of work before it actually happened. So Paris had been under Nazi occupation since June 14th, 1940. And the French resistance had been actively working to undermine the occupation. As the Allies approached, they were ready to rise up. The liberation was achieved through a combination of coordinated Allied efforts, including the French 2nd Armored Division and the U.S. 4th Infantry Division, and the French resistance actions within the city, as well as a German commander, Dietrich von Kollitz, which surprised me, I never knew this, who had been ordered by Hitler to destroy the city, but he ultimately defied the order.
Oh.
I didn't know that. On August 25th, 1944, the Allies entered Paris and met with jubilant crowds. The French resistance had already begun to engage German forces, and the liberation was marked by a mix of celebration and fighting. Van Kolitz finally surrendered, and the city was declared liberated. The people of Paris poured into the streets, celebrating wildly and welcoming the Allied troops with flowers, kisses, and cheers. Witnesses described scenes of intense emotion, with people crying tears of joy and expressing their gratitude to the liberators. While the German resistance was relatively light due to von Kolitz, the liberation still involved combat and casualties, with both Allied forces and the French resistance and civilians suffering losses. The French forces of the interior and French resistance lost approximately 1,000 casualties. The French 2nd Armored Division, 156 were killed, 225 were wounded. German forces, 3,200 were killed, 12,800 were taken prisoners. Civilians, 582 were killed, 2,000 wounded. While there's no data for just Paris, the broader period of Allied operations in France from June 6th to September 14th, 1944, where they were in France, resulted in 2.1 million Allied soldiers on French soil with heavy losses, including 40,000 killed, 165,000 wounded, and 20,000 missing from D-Day to...
Just to September?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Just like 3 months? Wow.
Right, yeah. In addition to the casualties during the fighting, the immediate aftermath of the liberation saw acts of retribution against collaborators and hundreds of summary executions carried out across the city. Ultimately, the liberation was a celebration of freedom and a turning point in the war, with General Charles de Gaulle leading a liberation march down the Champs-Élysées on August 26. The French people were able to reclaim their city after years of occupation.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's got to feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, the war's not close to being over yet,
Yeah.
but that's got to feel pretty good.
And while people were celebrating, the French
Yeah.
resistance was still fighting in the streets with Germans.
Yeah. And we've talked about resistance fighters on
Yeah.
here. You know, these are just like ordinary people
Yeah.
that were just
Yeah.
kind of stood up and was like, all right, we're just going to join up unofficially.
Yeah.
And who knows if Van Kolitz hadn't
Yeah.
defied Hitler, who knows how
Wow.
I'm
it
sure
would have
things did
liberated-
not
yeah.
end well for him, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
40,000 Americans died between
Yep.
D-Day
Mm-hmm.
and the liberation of Paris.
Between June 6th and September 14th, 2.1 million Allied soldiers on French soil.
Yep.
And that's something I didn't realize either. No.
The amount of losses in World War II, we don't think it's astronomical.
Yeah.
Like all around. It's crazy. It's-
And once again, these numbers are, approximations.
Yeah, sure.
You go to different sources and numbers are different, but it gives you at least a little bit of idea
Yeah.
of what was going on.
Well, more of a fun fact after all that heavy losses. I was browsing through the ledger for August 1944, and I saw a little blurb about how mail zone numbers were very helpful during the war because there were so many mail carriers gone in the service, and the new people didn't know like big cities very well yet. So this was like the beginning of zip codes.
Oh.
They were 2-digit numbers, and they were only used in like big cities like Detroit or Grand Rapids or Flint at the time. So it wouldn't have been in Lowell. But the zip codes weren't the 5-digit kind. Didn't come out until much later,
Wow.
like maybe 20 years later after that. But they started zip codes in the war because of all the mail carriers were gone.
Wow. Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, we can trace a lot of stuff back to World War II era, I think. Like, we need this, we need this. We've already talked about Social Security numbers here before, all this stuff. So
All the mail carriers being gone, and so they
Yeah.
needed another way to
yeah,
make it
nobody
more
knew
efficient.
Grand Rapids very well. So you'd have
maybe if we
you'd have a
put a
2-digit code, but it was only 2 digits. It's crazy. All right. Well, we have another letter from Roger that we're going to read. Just a couple excerpts from. It's a long letter, but it talks about Bruce and Margaret for sure. So this letter was dated August 20th, 1944, in his own words.
Sunday, 8:30 a.m., August 20th, 1944. Dearest Mother and Dad, it was nice of Dad to bring this letter up to you. I'll try to make it interesting enough to fill a few minutes of your day or two in bed. I could say I knew it and wanted several times to order you to take it more easy, but I guess we both knew it and still decided the occasion made it worthwhile. Wish I could plunk down and jiggle your bed and look across the view with you right now and maybe give you a good talking to. Still, yesterday was a big day for all of us, and you've got a right to be tired.
Okay, so even though this letter is dated August 20th, which was before the wedding on August 23rd. It certainly seems like Lotta is recovering from some big event before the wedding. I assumed it was the wedding when I first read it. Maybe. I assumed it was the wedding when I first read it, right? Because he says yesterday was a big date, but the dates don't match up.
And
but I don't know.
We rarely
we'll
talked
never know this.
to Dad.
I'm sure there was people in town.
Sure,
maybe.
And there was just maybe a big get together and
him coming home.
Yeah,
Dad coming home.
That's true.
Yeah,
maybe that. Yeah, I don't know, but a lot of things. But I think we're also getting another look at perhaps Lotta's like poor health.
Yeah.
Right, like just big events like this are having her go up to her bed and have to rest for quite a bit, which we knew from reading Bruce's letters back in when he was in England. But in this next excerpt, Roger writes about trying to meet up with Bruce in Miami since Roger is in Fort Myers, in his own words.
I had a very nice letter from Marg today. I think the captain made a good selection, and I'm anxious to get better acquainted with her. I can almost say, damn, if I get a 3-day pass while they are in Miami, it will be swell. I've asked Bruce to wait until he's been there 2 or 3 weeks so they can be together a while, and then by then, we may be able to arrange to fly over and pick me up. You both should know how much I'm planning on getting home again. And while I'm awfully anxious, I'm still happy to be here and very deeply thankful for the excellent health and spirits I've been enjoying. Since this world will be long over before my training is completed, or Bruce is back in action again, you two better relax and worry about how many more grandchildren you all have to pass to you. Good night, and may the blessings you deserve, and many which I think you have, continue. Your loving and grateful son, Raj.
You guys got to mention in this the many grandchildren that you'll have to pester you. That's you guys. That's you, Dad and Aunt Lori.
Yeah.
Like you guys.
That's Dad. Your dad. Yes.
Oh.
I wasn't. No, I wasn't around. I was
when Frank was alive. Though, you were. Right?
I was. Okay. Not very long, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so that's just my dad.
I didn't pester a lot at all.
That's true.
I did pester Grandpa.
But still, he's referring to you guys. I'm still going to say that. But I also think it's cute. He writes, the captain made a good selection. That's adorable. Bruce also seems to think so. So we're going to finish today with a letter from Bruce. We've gone this entire episode with no letters from Bruce, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed this. We've read the ledger. We've read letters from Raj, but this will end with a letter from Bruce. And, that's the whole point of this podcast. This letter, though, is from September 9th, 1944. So we're a little farther out. He's in Miami now. And the letter is written on stationery that says Army Air Forces Redistribution Center No. 2, Miami Beach, Florida. So, Dale, what is a redistribution center before we read this letter?
Redistribution Center functioned as a logistical hub for the organization, management, and relocation of military supplies and personnel. By June 1st, when Bruce finally came home, 1944, the redistribution system was organized into 3 main components. One was the redistribution stations. These centers provided returning soldiers time to readjust to life back home after the stresses of combat through rest and recreation. They also helped assign soldiers to new units based on the needs of the war effort, which was still going on with Japan. Mm-hmm. And the second one was convalescent hospitals, which obviously was for soldiers coming back that were still needed care and from wounds from overseas. And then the last one, overseas replacement depots, which we're going to learn more about because Bruce becomes a big part of that. These centers were key components of the supply chain, receiving goods from production facilities or ports, and then distribute them to various units and locations, sometimes even rerouting them to other theaters of war as priorities shifted, which was the Pacific theater. They were crucial for efficiently managing the immense logistical demands of a global conflict, ensuring the right supplies reached the right places at the right time. And Bruce is going to be part of that. We'll see in the coming up letters. These redistribution centers ensured the uninterrupted flow of critical resources to keep the military functioning and achieve their strategic objectives. So the first one he went to was just the plain redistribution stations.
Okay.
And a lot of them were just hotels that they bought in California and Miami and all. I mean, they were beautiful hotels and just places for him just to kick back. And
so they're sending him somewhere nice to just kind of chill on the beach. He does mention this. You'll see
that's where
here.
He started, and he's going to move on.
And he's going to move 45. On, yeah. Well, he moves on from Miami actually relatively quickly. So he's going there to get his next assignment and to chill for a bit. His new wife.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's the letter in his own words.
Saturday. Dear Mom and Dad, I just returned from taking a 3-hour psych exam, and we're going to dinner in a short while. Everything is going swell with us, and this is a very lovely spot to rest in. However, it isn't exactly as the pamphlet advertised. In the first place, we won't be staying here as long as we thought. In fact, we'll probably be on the way to my new assignment the middle or last of next week. Day before yesterday, I took my physical and was just too darned healthy. Seriously, though, it was a complete and very thorough exam, and I was A1 in everything. Even my eyes are better than they've ever been. Yesterday, I had my interview with the board, and I'll be made an instructor, or rather, I am on in some training command. There aren't any other jobs open, so it's that or nothing. As I suspected, I'll probably not get a station close to home, but I'll have an iron in the fire, and if it works, I may get a break on location. I'll know what my assignment is in a couple of days, and I'll let you know my location and type of work the day that I'm assigned. Margaret's having fun, and honest, she already is a darn good housekeeper, and you don't know what it means to have someone you love waiting for you when you get home, find that she's washed your laundry and cleaned the room, etc. I wrote to Roger from Atlanta, and I had a 6-hour layover on the airlines due to some higher priorities. I told him that due to the way we're speeding things up around here, about 10 days instead of 3 weeks, I probably wouldn't get over to Fort Myers until I was headed to my new post. However, when I leave to go wherever they send me, I'll go up to Jacksonville, and I'll go across to St. Myers and that way. I inquired about getting a ship from here, but it's impossible as there are no ships, Army, around here, all Navy. But nevertheless, I should be with him in about a week or so. Boy, am I anxious to see him. You don't have to worry about my going back into combat, as I won't be. I could try and explain this hotel and the beautiful surroundings, but Mark said she would do that. Guess she figures she'd do a better job, so I'll stick to my doings. I have to take some more tests this afternoon, so I'll sign off. Give all the family our love. Your loving daughter and son, Mark and Bruce. P.S. Better get the foundation on that room put on. You might have some rumors some of these days.
Interesting. It's
Rumors.
cute. Yeah,
Rumors.
R-O-O-M.
Right.
Yes, we should probably clear that up. Yes, absolutely. So it's signed Marg and Bruce. Look at that.
Yeah,
Isn't that
your
cute?
loving daughter and son. That's
Yes.
different.
And Bruce and Roger are going to meet up soon. So that's nice. He might be able to meet with his brother. But I'm curious about all these tests that Bruce are doing. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. Like he's got a psych exam. He's got
all the physical stuff, all the physical stuff.
eye exams, all that.
His eyes are better. He says we get a little call back to the eyes.
He was worried about not being able to fly because his eyes were so
So
big.
it is like you said in the distribution centers. They're really trying to like test them all out, figure out.
I'm sure his heart, his lungs, all of that.
Yeah, like
stuff.
make sure he's okay and hanging in there. So, and the mental tests that he has to do. So, yeah, that's really interesting. But that's it. That's it for us today. In our next episode, we're going to read some more letters from Bruce and Margaret about their new home, their new assignment in Arizona.
Very
Back
cool.
to the desert for Bruce. Sorry. He's not going to like it.
No.
Thank you for listening to Letters Home. We hope you continue to listen as we go through Bruce's story. You can listen to Letters Home on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the Lowell Historical Museum website and YouTube channel. New episodes drop every Thursday. The Lowell Historical Museum has digitized versions of Bruce's letters, so you can read them in full, along with primary sources for most of the people, places, and events we've talked about here today, plus more. You can also follow the Lowell Historical Museum on Facebook and the Letters Home podcast on Instagram at Letters Home Lowell. Thank you to Roger McNaughton for our podcast music and to Lowell Radio for letting us record in their studio at Lowell High School every week. Stream it at lowellradio.org. See you next time.